It's so nice to see DreamWorks swipe back at Disney again. Hey everyone, this is Kevin T. Rodriguez, film critic of iCritic.net, and let's talk about Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. This is the latest film from DreamWorks Animation, and I'm going to predict right now that it's not going to be a huge film. Unlike some of their previous films, which were instant classics or ambitious in nature, Ruby Gillman is a small movie, it's a sweet movie, and it's a charming movie, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say about it. The most notable thing about the movie is that it seems to be a return to form where DreamWorks is actually kind of throwing punches at their nemesis again. As you may recall, when DreamWorks was formed in the late 90s, it was formed by Jeffrey Katzenberg, who left Disney after a very tension-filled exit because he did not get a job he wanted. Now, the studio's first couple films, like Prince of Egypt, were there to mimic the Disney style and show that DreamWorks could not only do the Disney style, they could do them better than Disney. But everything changed when Shrek came along, which was an outright attack on Katzenberg's former employer, and that became a huge sensation. Shrek became a memorable character. It won the first Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And for a while, DreamWorks made a living out of doing, well, basically responding to Pixar. You know, Pixar made Finding Nemo, they made Shark Tale, then DreamWorks just made all these movies that were making fun of Disney and Pixar films. And then I think around Kung Fu Panda is when they started to kind of shift and do their own thing again, and then they started hiring former Disney animators, and you got like How to Train Your Dragon. And DreamWorks started to actually become their own entity, their own voice. And you have not seen them really striking back at Disney until now, because Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken follows a family of Krakens who live on the surface. And they live on the surface because the mother basically used to live under the sea, but decided not to for reasons that you find out later. And the Krakens, despite having a reputation for being evil creatures who will kill humans, they're actually the good guys. They defend humans from mermaids, who are the real evil people in this universe. And it's probably no surprise that the villainous mermaid in this movie looks a lot like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And while I don't know if this was done intentionally or not, the fact that this movie is coming out like a couple months after the live-action remake of Disney's Little Mermaid makes me wonder, like, if the movie is striking harder for me as a result of that than it would have otherwise, because it is a very simple movie. Now, Ruby Gillman is a very likable character. She comes off as a natural teenager. She has crushes, she has friends, and she doesn't like being in this town, and so, very relatable stuff, but she's a Kraken. Now, the character designs are pretty simple. In fact, dare I say it, this movie feels a lot like VeggieTales, and not only the simplicity of the designs, but the stretch and squash that VeggieTales incorporates in their show. It feels like a lot of that animation style has been applied to this animation style and in this movie. So that is very interesting to see that getting more use. It also should be noted that this is like the first DreamWorks film in a while that has not been projected in Realty 3D. And I don't know if that was always the case. A couple shots look like it would be magnificent in 3D, but for the most part, this is a much more low-key movie from DreamWorks. I hope they didn't spend a lot of money on it, because this looks like it should be a $30 to $50 million film. If I find out that it costs $150 million down the line, then they spent way too much money on this for what it is. If this was like a $30 or $50 million film, then the animation has more charm to it as a result. That's just a me thing. That's not something that a lot of people are going to be concerned about. Now, it has been brought up by several other critics that this coming-of-age story reminds them a lot of Turning Red, and that might feed into the theory that DreamWorks might be swiping back at Disney and Pixar again. I don't think that's what's happening. There's just been a lot of movies that have been addressing generational trauma. And also, Turning Red was also kind of about the changes that happens to one's body, which Ruby Gillman is not about as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I guess it could be in some regards, but the how should I put this? But the metaphor is not as strong because she's always been a Kraken and she knows that she's not a human. It's not like this is a secret to her or her brother or her dad. She just knows that she can't go in the water and doesn't understand why. Whereas Turning Red, May starts turning into a panda, and it was always going to be expected that she was going to turn into a panda, but her parents did not tell her. So I don't think that's necessarily a swipe at Pixar so much as it's someone who is telling their own version of the generational trauma story, because this movie is focused way more on what the mother didn't share with the daughter. And there's many scenes with Ruby and her grandmother where she's finding out things about her past life or her mom's past life that she had never been told, and there's this whole history that she's just not aware of. And so that's what this is really about. I think Turning Red is definitely its own thing. And I'm also going to say, from my personal perspective, Turning Red is a much better movie than this, because Turning Red has real depth to it, has real heart to it. Ruby Gillman is cute. It's enjoyable. It's likable. It's fun. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Would I recommend you see this movie over Elemental or The Flash or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse? Heck no. There's a lot of other movies that are much more worth your time. Like, if you can only see like one movie this week, it's not going to be this one. It just is not. I don't think it's strong enough. But here's the thing. If you have young kids and some of those other movies are too intense for them, or maybe you're like me and you see everything, and as a result, this is one of the only things out there, it's fun. I can recommend it. I'm going to give Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken 3 stars, which, again, the 3 and the 2.5 stars are always like a little bit on the line. It's pushed over enough to where I could recommend it. It's not going to change your world or anything, and I doubt it's going to be the huge financial success that previous DreamWorks films are. But once in a while, a smaller film like this that can, just be enjoyed without having to think about it too much, that can be good too. But I would like to know, what do you think about this movie? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.